alignment, manifestation, synchronicity, dark night of the soul. What does it all mean? Is the woo sometimes a little too woo for you? Join me as I break it all down on Decoding the Woo Woo with Dana Sardano. Hi, my name is Dana Sardano, and this is Decoding the Woo Woo. Welcome, and thank you for joining me. Decoding the Woo Woo is a show that I created because I wanted to clarify some of the misconceptions in the spiritual community and break down some of the heady and esoteric concepts that sometimes feel like they're like outside of us or even unattainable. And I wanted to demystify the sort of cryptic and magical ways of the woo, and just remind everybody that we're all a little woo. Every one of us, we are all spiritual beings living in this world, having an experience, trying to learn, to grow, to expand, evolve, and hopefully have love and joy in our hearts in the process. So that's why we're here. That's why I'm here. And I'm hoping by having these conversations, that I could maybe assist others on their journey, because we all know it can be daunting, it could be overwhelming at times, but when we understand A, that we're all in it together, and B, that the power is in our hands, it could become a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more purpose driven, and a little bit more fulfilling. And that's what I'm hoping to accomplish here. So again, welcome to Decoding the Woo Woo. With that said, this is episode 3. The last episode was It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, and I talked about the first 3 recommandments in 10 Recommandments for Personal Empowerment. And today I want to follow up with the embrace your personal GPS. So last episode was here's your foundation. Be aware of these foundational principles, and you can feel more empowered and more in control over dictating the trajectory of your life. And today it's, well, what tools do we have, and how can we apply these tools to creating a trajectory that is in alignment with the life that we desire? But before I begin, I just want to give you a little backstory of who I am if you haven't watched the first 2 episodes, just the long and the short of it. But I am a retired educator. I was in education for 20 plus years. And in 2015, I figured out that I could paint. I picked up a paintbrush for the first time since my childhood. And it had awoken something in my soul that had lain dormant for many, many years. And I followed that feeling. I followed that joy. I followed that bliss. And it just continued to evolve and expand. It went from, painting every day to being paid to paint, to doing art festivals and exhibitions, to getting a website. It quickly evolved to me leaving my career, my stable career, so I could pursue life as an artist. It evolved into an art gallery and intuitive lounge. I found myself on an unintentional spiritual journey, met all sorts of really cool people, had all sorts of really cool experiences, and wrote books and all sorts of creative projects, co-host a podcast with Angela DeMarco. We created businesses together. Oh my God, yada, yada, yada. Here I sit with you with all this wisdom and all this experience and all this knowledge. And again, with the hope of assisting others on their spiritual journey. So that's my why. That's where I came from. That's how I got here. And let's get this party started. So, as part of my creativity, I created a deck of cards with my dear friend, Anne-Marie Scorti, with all of my artwork. A couple more. And all of her super inspired, super powerful channeled messages. Such a beautiful deck. It's called Soul Traveler Cards of Empowerment. And today, I picked a card for us to start. This is Rosie. You can do it. So the message on the card is your power. Your power. You are connected to universal creative energy. Once you accept this as truth, you understand your creative power, for it cannot be otherwise. You are the creator of your life by the nature of the energy of who you are. The true understanding of your power is transformational. For when you can accept that you are indeed the creator of your life, You can no longer feel like a victim to forces outside your control. If you are the creator, then you create all, even that which is unpleasant. It is for you to understand that as you think, so you create. Realize your thoughts. This is key. The intentional transformation of your life comes through this realization. This card is so important and so powerful because everything that I talk about in all of these episodes, the common thread is always that the power is in your hands. It starts with you and what you believe about yourself and what you believe about the world around you. These first handful of episodes, I think it's the first 5 or 6 episodes, I really focus on our personal foundation, on who we are, what we think, how we develop these beliefs, and how we can restructure these beliefs that no longer serve us to beliefs that better serve us. And it's so important because often, and again, another thing that I've witnessed in the spiritual community, so many people that get so excited when they get a taste of the magic. People understand, oh, they have spiritual gifts. And when I ran the gallery, I ran the gallery for 4 years. I sold it in October of 2023. But when I was running the gallery, the one question that came in more than any other question when people came to see me do intuitive guidance or come to do workshops, how do I build my spiritual gifts? How do I grow my spiritual gifts? And because I always had a taste of that magic. And they want to start here, but you have to start here. And until you find peace and harmony and clarity within you, within your vessel, then it expands outward. Now, yeah, of course, you could have magic. You could, without the grounding. But when you don't have the grounding, it's you're not grounded. It's just so important that for heightened experiences, for the greatest fulfillment, for the most open heart, for the strongest sense of being, it starts with the grounding. And then everything else is a reward, is a consequence of that grounding. So that is what I will always go back to. The power was within you. If your trajectory is a little off course, it's not to look here and see what to fix. It's to look here and see what to fix, or to realign, or to rebalance. And then this will go right back on course. So that is always going to be Broken Record Hour with Dana Sardano. It's always going to go back to that message. So today we're going to talk about your personal GPS and how you could utilize that to keep yourself on course. So there's a few things that I think, take for granted that we are armed with when we come into this world. And the first one is our 5 senses. Our 5 senses: sight, hearing, smelling, taste, touch. They're all here to help decode information. Something comes our way. I smell something and I feel heat. There must be a fire. And so then I act accordingly, right? All of a sudden I'm outside and all of a sudden I'm soaked. Oh, it's raining. Maybe I should take cover. Our senses they tell us everything. And the cool thing about our senses is the more we become aligned with our true essence, and the more we keep ourselves in balance, the more we feel empowered, the more heightened our senses become. The broader our awareness, the more heightened our senses. So you hear about clairvoyance, and you hear people who are clairaudient, clairsentient, and all of these sort of magical gifted clairs. All they are an extension of our senses when we are in alignment. So the second source of our second tool in our GPS is our intuition. Our intuition is that sense of knowing that when it's not clouded with worry and distractions and even self-soothing or anything like that, when we have a clear vessel, our intuition is on point. So our intuition and our senses, they work together, because the more clarity we have, the more heightened our senses are. And that is our intuitive clairvoyance. So just to break it down, clairvoyance means clear sight. Okay. Clairaudience is to clear hearing, right? Clairsentience is clear feeling. Clairgustance is clear tasting. Clairalience is clear smelling. And so these clairs, what they are is they are extensions of our five senses when we're grounded and empowered and we have clarity and all of the gunk of the trauma and the drama of our lives is all worked out. These clairs, they come online. So think about when you were in school, right? What was your favorite or easiest or best modality of learning? So when I was teaching, my background is in differentiated learning styles, that and behavioral modification, but we're going to focus on the learning. So kids learn differently. We all learn differently. Some kids learn better auditorily. I'm sitting in the classroom and the teacher is talking and I take it in. Usually musicians are auditory learners. So you get it through hearing. Some kids are better visually. Got to write it on the board, right? Some work well with both. So you speak it and you write it on the board. So there's the visual learners that they do well with maps and graphs and anything visual. Then you have your kinesthetic learners, those who have to do something. I have to write notes. I have to create a project, right? That's your kinesthetic. That's your clairsentience. Right? I didn't have too many learners in the classroom that had to do with smelling and tasting, but that idea of doing, feeling, touching, that idea of seeing or hearing. So think about how you learned best in the classroom. Think about how you receive information best. And that is your strength. And when you have clarity within yourself and within your vessel, that is likely going to be the clair, going to be the sense that becomes heightened. So remember, our senses are important. And we have a tendency, because life is hard, not gonna lie, we have a tendency to numb our senses. Maybe we drink a little bit too much sometimes because life is difficult, or we want to have a good time, we want to take the edge off, right? We're numbing our senses, or we do drugs, or we have an emotional situation. For me, I used food to self-soothe. Or we distract ourselves. We distract ourselves with work. We distract ourselves with gossip. We distract ourselves with social media, right? We impulse buys, whatever it is, all the things that we do to feel better rather than feel, which is what our senses or a part of what our senses are about. So be aware of your senses. Be aware of the senses that are your strongest senses for gathering information. And know when you create clarity in other aspects of your life, those senses will heighten. For me, I've always leaned towards claircognizance, which is like you just kind of know stuff. This isn't about the five senses, but you just kind of know stuff. So, you're a bit of a jerk because, people are like, how do you know? My husband's like, how do you know? I'm like, I just know. So, it's definitely not, my husband's most favorite. But as far as the senses, clairvoyance is my jam. I have friends that are clairaudient. They're trance channels. The information comes through them. They hear things, and that's how they get information. That's the extension of that sense. For me, I always see it in dream imagery. Or even my seeing isn't so literal. Like I can see big picture stuff. Like I could see one thing and see it like 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of the game. That only came, my ability to do that and my ability to really understand my dream imagery, because I dreamt my whole life very, very vividly, but to really understand it came with my clarity. So the more work I did on myself, the more I cleared out the traumas and the dramas and the irrational beliefs and, the toxic behavioral patterns and all of that stuff that I talked about in the second episode. That's when that stuff started to open up. So pay attention to your senses. They are such an awesome decoder ring for what's going on in the world around you. The second, I mentioned intuition, so they go hand in hand. The third one is your chakra system. So your chakras are your energy centers within your body. There's 7 energy centers within your body. And each energy center has corresponding attributes of you. So just to give you an example, your throat chakra. The attributes of your throat chakra are about authenticity, the ability to set boundaries, clear and proper communication, speaking your truth, right? Again, your sense of integrity. Those are all the aspects. When those aspects are imbalanced in your life, right? I fight with my husband all the time. We don't properly communicate. I'm afraid to set boundaries with my kids. I'm afraid to live openly and authentically because I don't want people to judge me, right? So those imbalances are showing me that I might have stagnant or stuck energy in my throat chakra. So in episode 4, we are going to go off on the chakras. I'm going to go through every stage of development. I'm going to go through what each chakra is about, and the aspects of you that could be imbalanced and balanced, and what that looks like. So I'm really, really, really going to get into detail with that. But what's important about understanding that your chakra system is a part of your personal GPS is that it's not like your senses, like, oh, I hear something and that is alerting me to information. It's more like a reverse engineer, like, oh, I am in constant disagreement with my husband and we can't properly communicate. We're yelling at each other or whatever that is, right? There's dysfunction there. There's an imbalance there. What aspect of me does that correspond with? Oh, communication is my throat chakra. Oh, I must have imbalances in my throat chakra. Oh, it takes a lot of excavation. I wonder where that comes from. Oh, the greatest age of resonance was, oh, what happened during that time? And really, really work backwards. Not only are we doing episode 4 on the chakras, but I'm really going to really delve into this in episodes the 5th and 6th episode as well, because it's so important that we be able to utilize these aspects of ourselves and utilize this understanding to, again, empower ourselves to better navigate our lives. So the chakra system is essential in understanding where the balances are, where the imbalances are, what they correspond with, and then how to address it. That's why I call it your rainbow colored roadmap. Oh, that's a red one. Let me look at that. Oh, that's an orange one. Let me look at that. So your chakra system, it is crucial. So your senses, so important. Clear yourself out and, bring yourself clarity, and your senses will heighten. Your intuition, hand in hand with your senses. Whatever your natural sense of knowing is, it comes through your intuition. You'll see it in your senses. Your chakra system, oh my God, rainbow colored roadmap every day of the week is going to tell you what aspects to look at. And then the last 2 are your physical and your emotional guidance systems. Your physical guidance system, oh my God, it comes in so many ways. And unfortunately, sometimes we ignore it, right? Signs, right? Like when I'm at my computer too long, my shoulder starts to hurt. What do? I ignore it. Sometimes I pop a Tylenol. Instead of listening to my shoulders telling me I'm left-handed, I'm always writing, I'm always on the computer. It's telling me, slow down, take a break, walk away. We get headaches. What do? We take a pill instead of maybe asking ourselves, did I drink enough water today? Do I have too much stress? Is my ponytail too tight? Ladies, is my ponytail have I been on the screens for too long? So when our bodies speak to us, it really is in our best interest to listen to what the messages are before we try to numb those messages. Because again, and I mentioned this with the senses, when we numb our senses, when we numb our physical vessel, we are not getting the messages. We are not getting the information that we need to correct something if it needs to be corrected. Just to tell you a little story. When I was in my late 20s, I had been out of New Jersey for 10 years. I grew up in New Jersey, went to college in Florida. After I graduated, I taught for a handful of years. And in my late 20s, I decided to move back to New Jersey because, don't judge me, because I had a boyfriend that I met in Florida that had to go to New York for personal reasons. And my roommate had just moved, and I didn't like my job. And it was just like a perfect opportunity. And what I thought was, I'm probably going to settle down at some point. Meanwhile, I didn't settle down until I was in my early 40s. But I'm probably going to settle down. Maybe I should be near my family. So I moved back to New Jersey, and I moved under really, really horrific circumstances. The day that I was supposed to move, my boyfriend and I had a huge falling out. It was like a thing. Again, I don't want to get into it, but I won't talk about it. We got to a huge thing. We wound up breaking up the day that I moved. So now I uprooted 10 years of my life, moved back in with my mother, broke up with the reason that I moved. And it was just tragic. It was awful. And I wound up being in New Jersey for 2 years. The first year, me doing everything in my power to try to get this guy back because of my worthiness and all of that. Again, irrational beliefs. We could do 4 hours on that, but it was tragic. So I moved in with my mother, broken up with the boyfriend, left my entire life, got a pretty cool job, but wound up not being able to reassimilate with my friends from high school because 10 years had gone by. I had nothing in common with them anymore. I was reminded rather quickly why I moved out of New Jersey in the first place, because my family dynamic was not at all functional, and it was cold. It was cold. I was in Florida for 10 years, so I was terribly, terribly unhappy. I wound up gaining a lot of weight, falling into depression, not realizing it. Hindsight's a beautiful thing, but having terrible stomach issues, and wound up in the emergency room twice. And it led to me having to go get tested. They gave me an endoscopy and found out that I had acid reflux and Barrett's esophagitis, which was affecting my throat chakra area, and all of these issues. And I couldn't eat certain foods, and I had to take this medication and all of these things. And within 2 years, I wound up moving back to Florida because clearly New Jersey was no longer the place for me. And when I moved back to Florida, within a couple of months, my stomach issues improved. I felt better. The weight fell off of me, and I stopped taking the medication and never had a stomach issue again. Now, we're going to talk about this in episode 4, but the stomach is solar plexus. And solar plexus is about your sense of identity, your sense of empowerment, your sense of confidence, right? When it's in balance, it's about worry and about anxiety, that sense of drive out of fear. I got to make things happen and, force things to happen and all of these things. And I was living that way, and my stomach was telling me, and I didn't understand that. I just knew that I was sick, and the doctors told me I had to take these pills. So when we start paying attention to our body's signs, and it's not always negative, it's not always pain signs. Oh my God, when I'm laughing, that's the joy escaping from my body. Or when I'm sitting outside and the breeze is on my skin and I'm like, oh, this is the best. That is my body telling me, be outside more. So listen to your body, your physical guidance system. Oh, it's going to tell you, but you got to keep it clear. You got to pay attention. Your last one, your emotional guidance system. This is the big one, because your emotions are such a beautiful way of telling you what serves you and what doesn't serve you. If something feels good emotionally, something makes me happy, makes me feel joyful, makes me excited, inspires me, then that is my soul guiding me and telling me that that is good for me and is always going to lead me in the direction that I need to go. Always. When something feels icky or uncomfortable or awkward or even angers me, that is alerting me that this thing is not good for me. It is not in my best and highest good. I should do fewer things like that. So it's like this hot cold game. Ooh, I don't like it. Okay, move in this direction. Ooh, that feels good. Move in this direction. That's all your emotions are. They are here to help you and help you decode the information to tell you what's good for you and what's not good for you, and what's going to lead you in the direction that you want to go. What we do, unfortunately, is we become, recommendment 2, I talked about it last episode, we become entrenched in our emotions. Sometimes the emotions are so painful and so hurtful and dark and all of these things, we get caught up in them and we forget what the information is and we get stuck in the emotions. And when we do that, they're no longer guiding us. They're becoming like an anchor to us. Now, do not misunderstand. When you're in the emotion, I get it. Listen, when I'm angry, nobody is going to tell me otherwise. So when we're in the emotions, we have to feel the emotions. We have to process the emotions. No toxic positivity here. No, it's all good. Nothing to see here. No, be in that emotion, but also recognize that that emotion is telling me something. When I was in New Jersey and I was often crying, unhappy, eating my feelings, all of those things, all of that was telling me that New Jersey was not the place for me. And I had to be willing to look at that. Because there's one thing to feel a certain way, but we have to have an awareness of the what's, the whys, the hows, even the sometimes the irrational beliefs that we have that perpetuate that emotion. Oh, nobody likes me, nobody loves me. These irrational beliefs. So we have to have an awareness. It's so crucial. And some of the things that keep us stuck, one of the things is our lack of awareness. We don't realize that our beliefs are perpetuating this emotional cycle, this downward emotional cycle. So then we have the awareness. We go, oh, wait, that's some conditioning that I have from childhood. Oh, that's an unresolved trauma. Oh, that's why I stay with this guy. And then part two is the willingness to do something about it. It's not enough to know why, but to be willing to do something about it. So some of the reasons we get stuck, even though we have all these different areas of guidance and, our GPS essentially, is our lack of willingness to do something. I'm like saying it like I don't want to say, but like we've got to want to do it. And I said this in one of my earlier episodes, it's the warriors that are willing to commit to self. It's the warriors that are willing to do the work. And it's the warriors that are putting their foot down and saying, I'm going to live a good life, a life of joy, peace, and freedom. And if you're watching any of my shows and you're watching this one to this point, then you too are a warrior. Awareness and willingness, understanding your beliefs and knowing that you have a whole arsenal of tools in your GPS to assist you in getting you where you need to go. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. So now get out there, tiger, and go get them. So with that said, thank you for listening. If you want to know anything else about who I am or what I do, you're welcome to go to ubuntufishgallery.com. If you're interested in any of the books that I've written or any of the cards that I've created, you can check them out at phenom-publishing.com. I do so many creative things. And again, it's all about really just bringing some light to the world and assisting those who have the light that's ready to shine. And again, if you're listening, you're ready. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for indulging me. And until next time, Ubuntu.